In Japan, an ordinary family sedan is nearly 4 times as likely as its Western cousin to hit 250,000 miles, and some Toyotas cross the million-mile mark with engines barely broken in. It isn't luck, secret oil, or a miracle product, but the result of a relentless system, a national inspection regime called Shaken, where skipping a minor repair can mean massive penalties, higher taxes, or having your registration revoked. This turns everyday drivers into maintenance fanatics and turns Japan's streets into a moving reliability laboratory. But why do these extreme standards exist? And how do they fuel the engineering decisions that make cars like the 1UZ-FE or 2JZ legendary for lasting decades? The answer reveals not only why Japanese cars keep running long after others fail, but how anyone, anywhere, can make their car last like a million-mile machine. Every 2 years, millions of Japanese car owners prepare for a ritual that shapes the very DNA of the country's vehicle fleet, the Shaken inspection. This is not a casual glance under the hood. Before even setting foot in the test lane, owners must work through a 60-point checklist called the Tenkan Seibi Kirokubo. Brakes, lights, suspension, steering, emissions, seatbelts, horn, window tint, and even the alignment of every headlight. Each detail is logged, checked, and signed off. Miss something, and the official inspection will catch it. At the inspection center, the process unfolds with clinical precision. First, the car's identity is confirmed. Engine and chassis numbers must match the registration. Then the examination moves to the exterior. Any unauthorized bodywork, oversized wheels, or tinted windows beyond legal limits will halt the process immediately. Even a slightly crooked license plate or a faded reflector can trigger a fail. The real scrutiny begins on the test lane. Brakes are measured on rollers, not just for stopping power, but for evenness and corrosion. The steering system faces a slip test where the wheels roll across a specialized surface to detect deviation. Just 1 meter of drift can mean a failed inspection. Next, the car is driven onto a dynamometer. Here, the speedometer is checked twice at 40 kilometers per hour. If the readings do not match, the vehicle cannot pass. Emissions are measured with a probe inserted into the exhaust, testing for carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons. Any reading above the strict threshold sends the car back for repairs. The undercarriage is examined for rust, leaks, and structural integrity. Suspension bushings, fuel lines, and even brake lines are checked for wear or damage. Inspectors look for the smallest sign of neglect, an oil seep, a cracked boot, a loose fastener. Nothing escapes attention. If the car fails any one of these checks, the owner must repair the issue and return for retesting, all before the registration expires. This relentless attention to detail does not just keep unsafe vehicles off the road. It forces owners to maintain their cars with a level of discipline rarely seen elsewhere. The result is a national fleet where even an everyday sedan receives more scrutiny in 10 years than many cars do in a lifetime. It is a system that rewards those who stay ahead of problems and punishes any attempt to cut corners, setting the stage for the economic decisions and ownership patterns that follow. Owning a car in Japan is as much about managing costs as it is about passing inspections. The moment a vehicle turns 13, the government imposes a 20% hike on the already steep weight tax. 5 years later, at 18, that tax jumps another 50%. For many families, the math is unforgiving. Keeping an older car on the road means paying more for every inspection, every registration, and every repair. By the time a car approaches its second decade, the annual cost of ownership can easily double compared to a newer model. This economic pressure shapes how the Japanese treat their vehicles. Rather than run a car into the ground, most owners choose to sell or export well before the tax spikes hit. The average Japanese car leaves domestic roads after just 9.2 years, 3.5 years sooner than the American average. It is not because the cars are worn out. In fact, Japanese drivers put on only about 5,800 miles each year, less than half the distance logged by their American counterparts. The result is a steady stream of low-mileage, meticulously maintained vehicles leaving Japan long before they show their age. The numbers behind this exodus are staggering. In 2024 alone, Japan exported over 1.57 million used vehicles to buyers around the world. Most of these cars arrive abroad with odometers reading between 30,000 and 70,000 kilometers, barely broken in by global standards. Some countries rely almost entirely on this supply. New Zealand, for example, sources 94% of its vehicles from Japan. For buyers in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Oceania, a Japanese export is not just a bargain. It is a chance to own a car that has seen more mechanics' wrenches than open highways. Dealerships and exporters have built entire businesses around this pattern. Auction houses in Yokohama and Nagoya fill their lots with cars that would be considered pristine anywhere else. Mechanics specialize in preparing vehicles for export, documenting every service and repair to maximize resale value. The strict inspection history becomes a selling point overseas, where buyers trust that a Japanese car's maintenance record is as spotless as its undercarriage. This cycle, relentless inspections, rising taxes, early trade-ins, and booming exports, creates a global fleet of Japanese vehicles that are younger, cleaner, and better maintained than almost any other. It is a system that rewards discipline at home and delivers reliability abroad, setting the stage for how manufacturers like Toyota and Honda design their cars to withstand both the test of time and the pressures of the marketplace. Inside Toyota's factories, a different kind of discipline takes hold, one that treats every bolt, every gasket, and every line of code as a potential point of failure. The foundation is the Toyota Production System, TPS, a philosophy shaped by Taiichi Ohno and Eiji Toyoda between 1948 and 1975. Here, quality is not a final inspection step. It is woven into every action on the line. On a typical day, any worker can pull an Andon cord, halting the entire production line the moment something feels off. This is not just a symbolic gesture. A single cord pull can freeze millions of dollars of output, all to prevent a single defect from slipping through. Machines themselves are programmed to self-detect errors. If a robot senses a misalignment or a torque that is out of spec, it shuts itself down and signals for human intervention. This is Jidoka, automation, where technology and people share responsibility for perfection. Kaizen, continuous improvement, is the daily rhythm. Workers at every level are expected to suggest small tweaks, sometimes dozens per week, each one aimed at shaving away the tiniest sources of waste or inconsistency. Over time, these micro-adjustments add up to a process where the cost of letting a defect pass is always higher than the cost of stopping everything to fix it. This relentless pursuit of zero defects set the stage for Project F1, Toyota's answer to the world's best luxury cars. The mission was to create an engine so reliable, so refined, that it would outlast anything on the road. Chief Engineer Ichiro Suzuki led a team that grew to 1,400 engineers, with 60 designers and 2,500 support staff. The budget hovered around $1 billion, a staggering sum for the late 1980s. But instead of chasing horsepower records, the team poured resources into durability and silence. Over 900 experimental engines were built, each one torn down, measured, and rebuilt. Prototypes racked up more than 1.6 million test miles on tracks, in deserts, and across frozen tundra. Every failure, no matter how minor, triggered a root cause analysis, feeding back into the next round of improvements. The result was the 1UZ-FE V8, an engine so overbuilt that a variant would later earn FAA certification for aircraft use. But the real legacy was the process itself. By the time the Lexus LS400 reached showrooms in 1989, Toyota had proven that defect-free was not a slogan. It was a system, enforced by thousands of hands and watched over by machines that never slept. This is why, decades later, owner stories rarely mention catastrophic failures. Instead, they talk about engines that run quietly past 500,000 miles, transmissions that shift as smoothly at 300,000 miles as they did on day one, and dashboards that never light up with warning codes. The invisible army behind every million-mile Japanese car is not just the owner with a wrench. It is the unseen engineers, the line workers, and the relentless logic of a factory that refuses to let problems slide. In the world of longevity, the proof is not in slogans or marketing, it is in metal. The 1UZ-FE V8, born from Toyota's relentless Project F1, stands as a living example. Designed for the original Lexus LS400, this 4-liter engine was so robust that a variant earned FAA certification for use in aircraft. To clear that bar, it had to survive over 1,500 hours of continuous high-load testing under aviation rules, far beyond anything required for cars. The automotive version, meanwhile, became famous for running quietly past 1,000,000 miles without ever needing to be opened. Owners like Matt Farah reached that milestone with nothing more than routine oil changes and filter swaps, a testament to the engine's oversized bearings, forged crankshaft, and conservative factory tuning. Toyota's 2JZ engine, another legend, takes the same philosophy and turns it up. Built with a closed-deck cast-iron block and forged internals, the 2JZ was rated at just 280 to 320 horsepower from the factory. But tuners quickly discovered the truth. With nothing more than upgraded fuel and careful tuning, the stock block and bottom end could handle 600 to 700 horsepower without flinching. Some builds have pushed beyond 1,000 horsepower, all on the original iron block. This kind of margin is not a happy accident. It is the result of engineers who left what most companies would call wasted strength on the table, just to guarantee that the engine would never be the weak link. But not every masterpiece comes from an assembly line. At Honda, the tradition of the Takumi, the master craftsman, means that select engines are built by hand, one at a time. Each Takumi spends years perfecting their craft, honing the muscle memory to spot the smallest imperfection. Their signatures are stamped onto the engines they assemble, a personal guarantee of quality. Nissan takes this even further with the GT-R. Only 5 technicians in the entire company are authorized to build the VR38DTT engine, each working in a sterile clean room, assembling every part by hand and checking over 100 points of precision before an engine is allowed to leave their station. These engines are not just overbuilt for the sake of pride. They are designed to outlast the car, the owner, and sometimes even the original purpose. Whether it is a V8 that can pass FAA scrutiny, an inline-6 that shrugs off triple its factory power, or a twin-turbo V6 assembled by one of 5 living masters, the message is the same. Reliability is engineered, not wished for. The next chapter belongs to the people who put these machines to the ultimate test, drivers whose odometers rolled past numbers most of us never see. Victor Shepard's Toyota Tundra did not reach 1 million miles by accident. He logged 125,000 miles every year as a contract driver. But what set his truck apart was the discipline behind each of those miles. Over 9 years, Shepard brought his Tundra in for service 117 times, an average of once every 28 days. Each visit meant more than just an oil change. Fluids, filters, belts, and brake pads were checked or replaced like clockwork. The oil itself was changed every 5,000 miles, never stretched, and always matched to the season, thicker in the Louisiana summer, lighter in the winter. When the odometer finally ticked past 1 million miles, the original engine and transmission were still sealed, untouched by any wrench except for routine care. Toyota's engineers, led by Mike Swears, took notice. They brought the truck to their Huntsville, Alabama plant for a full teardown, searching for the secrets in its wear patterns. The findings would later inform the design of the next generation Tundra, but the real lesson was in the logbook. Consistency kept that truck alive. Joe LoCicero's story tracks a different path, but lands at the same destination. He bought his 1990 Honda Accord used, with 76,000 miles already on the clock, and spent the next 15 years driving across New England as an independent contractor. Every week, he checked the car's fluids without fail. Oil changes came every 5,000 miles, using 10W30 in summer and 5W30 in winter, always from Honda's own stock. Brake fluid was swapped every other year, and the fuel tank was never allowed to run low. LoCicero's driving style matched his maintenance, steady, patient, with only one speeding ticket in 1 million miles. When the Accord finally crossed the 7-digit mark, Honda celebrated with a parade in Maine, complete with a marching band and a giant odometer float. But the celebration was for something simple. The car lasted because its owner refused to skip the basics. Both Shepard and LoCicero kept meticulous records, followed service charts to the letter, and treated every warning sign as a call to action, not an inconvenience. Their stories strip away the myth of the miracle car. Instead, they reveal a pattern anyone can follow. Check your fluids weekly, change oil on time, use quality parts, and drive with patience. The million-mile secret is not hidden in the engine bay. It is in the discipline of the person behind the wheel. Longevity in Japanese cars isn't just a matter of luck or engineering. It's the result of routines woven into daily life. The calendar sets the pace. Every vehicle faces a mandatory 12-month inspection, mirroring the 60-point checklist of the Shaken. Dealerships push the tempo further, calling owners back every 6 months for dealer service. This rhythm of oversight leaves little chance for neglect. It's not just about passing tests, it's about catching problems before they spiral into costly repairs. Oil changes reveal the heart of this philosophy. Japanese manufacturers specify an interval of 5,000 kilometers for severe use, just over 3,000 miles. Turbocharged engines demand even more frequent attention. Oil should be swapped every 2,500 kilometers, or about 1,500 miles. These intervals are far shorter than those recommended for identical models abroad. The reasoning is straightforward. Frequent changes flush out contaminants and wear metals, protecting engines from the inside out. The result is engines that routinely surpass 300,000 miles without internal failure. The same logic applies to other fluids. Brake fluid replaced every 2 years, coolant on a strict schedule, and transmission service treated as essential. Yet even with this vigilance, transmissions remain the most common first major failure, a reminder that maintenance can only delay, not prevent, eventual wear. This meticulous approach extends beyond mechanics. Since 1954, companies like Soft 99 have shaped how cars are preserved and presented. That year, Soft 99 introduced Japan's first homegrown car wax, shielding paint from humidity and salt. In 1984, they pioneered detailing clay, a product now standard worldwide. The 1990s brought more breakthroughs, including Fusocoat in 1990, the first fluorine-based automotive coating, and Glaco glass treatment in 1991, inspired by airline technology to repel rain. Japanese firms also led the way in Sol-Gel ceramic coatings, now the backbone of modern ceramic products. Each innovation raised the bar, not just for looks, but for preservation. Cleanliness here is practical. It reveals leaks, rust, and damage before they become threats. Across Japan, these habits form a national pattern: regular inspections, tight maintenance intervals, and a toolkit of protective products. Reliability is built, not found. The blueprint is simple: follow the schedule, use quality parts, and treat every detail as if tomorrow brings another inspection. Right now, over 1.2 million used Japanese cars cross borders each year, living proof that disciplined systems outlast shortcuts. In a world where planned obsolescence is the norm, the real edge is relentless care and engineering margin. Longevity is not luck, it is habit. If you want those million-mile odds, start with your next oil change. Subscribe to Car Care Daily. Hit like and tell us your highest mileage car below.